We got 5 years of demographic data on you and 5 years of medical records. We could tell the insurance company how long you had to live to the month.
To the month.
To the month. If you had access to this database, you would realize that the most common ailments that we suffer from are not diseases and pathology that are happening to us. They are things that are happening within us. If I was to boil my entire career down to a single sentence, it would be that the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. So in other words, there's not a single compound known to mankind, not one. No mineral, vitamin, amino acid, protein, carbohydrate, no nutrient of any kind, no element known to man that enters the human body and is used in the format that we put it in. Everything that we put into our bodies gets taken in by the body and converted into the usable form. You show me a person that's truly depressed, and I'll show you somebody that's also suffering from severe gut issues. By changing the pace of the gut, the speed of the gut, the conveyor belt, I've ruined this sequence of events. And I spend a lifetime trying to figure out what's wrong with the parts. You know what the brain cares about? The brain cares about survival. It doesn't care how fat or skinny you are, how pretty or ugly you are. It doesn't care about your skin, your hair. It cares about survival. If you don't do what we're going to ask you to do for the next 10 weeks, do you have a life expectancy? We got 5 years of demographic data on you and 5 years of medical records. We could tell the insurance company how long you had to live to the month.
To the month.
To the month. You know, if you think of the most successful financial institutions on the planet as a category, are insurance companies. If you look at the failures during the 2008, 2009 financial crisis, which was a global crisis, you know, in the US, we had 364 banks fail. You didn't have a single life insurance company fail. No other financial institution, no other investment enterprise, hedge fund, angel investor, venture capital firm would ever put tens of millions of dollars at risk on any kind of investment on one single variable. Yet every time a life insurance company bets on your life, they're only betting on one factor. They don't care where you are on a mortality curve. They want to know how many more months does this person have left on Earth. And it is some of the most accurate science on the planet. The downside of this industry, and the reason why I left it, was that if I was reading a medical record and saw a life-threatening drug interaction, I could not contact the patient. And this database where this information is drawn from, if this database could see the light of day, I believe it would permanently change the face of humanity. It would upend modern medicine in a way that would be completely catastrophic. They have information that no other database has, no other research study, no other financial institution, no other university has. And that is that they know the day, the date, the time, the location, and the cause of death for hundreds of millions of people that they have all of these records on. If you had access to this database, you would realize that the most common ailments that we suffer from are not diseases and pathology that are happening to us. They are things that are happening within us. If I was to boil my entire career down to a single sentence, it would be that the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. I have yet to find a single disease etiological pathway, something that's happening in the human body, causing pathology, causing disease, dysfunction, that doesn't have its roots in a lack of blood oxygen. In fact, all human beings die of the same thing. We all leave this earth the same way. All die of hypoxia, lack of oxygen to the brain. That's the definition of death. Only we tend to think of it as an event, right? A gunshot wound, a bus, car, a stroke, heart attack. But the truth is we are on a hypoxic curve, meaning we are accelerating quickly or accelerating slowly towards the grave. You know, we've all heard that disease, travels in families, or you might have genetically inherited hypertension or genetically inherited hypothyroid, genetically inherited drug and alcohol addiction, diabetes, depression, anxiety. These things tend to run in families. So we've accepted the myth in most cases that these are genetically inherited diseases. But think about this. The next time one of your listeners gets told that, oh, you have genetically inherited hypertension, or if you have this genetically inherited disease or that genetically inherited disease, stop your physician and say, well, wait a minute, we've mapped the entire human genome. So we know every gene in the human body. Can you tell me what disease I inherited from my ancestor that's actually causing this condition? And watch their face go blank. Because in the majority of cases, we have accepted that disease travels in families when it's actually not the disease being passed from generation to generation. It is the inability for their body to refine a certain raw material, which causes a deficiency, which leads to that disease. We have subscribed in this world to the fact that we are so affected by disease and pathology. And once I get you to subscribe to the fact that you have a disease, I can get you to subscribe to a lifetime of medication. Serotonin, for example, 90% of it resides in your gut. So if you don't have it here, you can't have it here. So depression rarely begins in the outside environment. It usually begins in the gut. Now, it may be trauma that led to the deficiency, but the fix is not in a chemical or synthetic or pharmaceutical blocking the brain's capacity to uptake these neurotransmitters. The fix is in restoring adequate levels to the body so it can naturopathically make its way back up the vagus nerve and arrive to the brain. If you actually have ever suffered from or know somebody who's suffered from anxiety, if you ask them 3 questions, you can find out very quickly that their anxiety is not coming from a cluster of symptoms. It's not coming from their outside environment. It is coming from within them. It's coming from their physiology. You show me a person that's truly depressed, and I'll show you somebody that's also suffering from severe gut issues, either gas or bloating or diarrhea, constipation, irritability, cramping, because the same neurotransmitters that affect these emotional states also are responsible for the motility of the gut, the speed of the gut. This is the most overlooked thing in all of bariatric medicine. People that believe that they have all of these allergies. Well, I'm allergic to wheat, soy, corn, dairy, blueberries, bananas. Yes, sometimes those individual allergies do exist, but the majority of time, when you ask them, well, what are you allergic to? And they give you this laundry list of things. And then you ask them another question and say, well, if you're really allergic to corn, is there ever a time that you can eat corn and not have a reaction? The majority of time people will say yes. Okay, well, right there, you know you don't have an allergy. Allergies are not transient. Allergies are consistent, right? You don't wake up Monday morning and being allergic to milk, and then you're unallergic on Wednesday afternoon, and then re-allergic on Saturday morning. But what happens when people have gut issues that they can't explain is they always correlate it to what they last ate. And it's hard to make this connection. They're like, well, wait a second, I ate the same thing Monday and I was fine, and I ate the identical food on Wednesday and I blew up like a tick. So this is not an allergy. This has to do with the motility of the gut. By changing the pace of the gut, the speed of the gut, the conveyor belt, I've ruined this sequence of events. And I spend a lifetime trying to figure out what's wrong with the parts, what's wrong with the workers, what's wrong with the conveyor belt itself. Nothing. It's how quickly or slowly it's running, because the motility, this peristaltic activity, is affected. And once you supplement for this deficiency and you return that activity to normal, you find that all of a sudden these strange allergies eviscerate, and all of this gas and bloating and diarrhea and constipation and irritability and all of this inability to equate things that I'm eating back to what is going on in my gut seem to go away. As sophisticated as we like to think our brains are, it's really not. Our brain is very primal. You know what the brain cares about? The brain cares about survival. It doesn't care how fat or skinny you are, how pretty or ugly you are. It doesn't care about your skin, your hair. It cares about survival. When we understand that the brain does not know the difference between perception and reality, we start to understand how it can play tricks on us. My mission is to try to help people by taking a genetic test once in their lifetime, find out where is methylation broken, and then stop supplementing just for the sake of supplementing and start supplementing for this deficiency so your body can thrive.